what can I say about Ron's story? I could read his bio, but I could also tell my Ron story. Ron Story was born and raised in East St. Louis, Illinois, and has been an entrepreneur since childhood. He launched his first business collecting and recycling aluminum cans just so that he could buy the toys he wanted. That same resourcefulness and drive to solve problems has only grown, now applied to helping others achieve real success. With a mission to help people become financially independent without sacrificing everything to get there, he brings decades of experience from age 21 to 34. He worked as a financial advisor, and for the past 10 years, he has consulted with software companies around the world. Throughout his journey, he made and earned from the same mistakes many entrepreneurs like us make today. That's why he's built businesses designed to solve two of the biggest challenges most entrepreneurs face. I'm going to change this, all entrepreneurs face, and that is lead generation and closing deals. Now he's here to share everything he's learned to help you gain the same freedom he's worked so hard to achieve. Now, that is the Ron story. Now, let me give you my Ann McNeill version. Is that all right? Can I just have you put in the chat? Is that all right? Yes. Put in the chat. Yes. Yes. My Ron story. And I'm so thankful that you're here tonight, Ron. And thank you, Michelle, for the exercise to reel in the big fish. I met Ron Story as a part of the National Speakers Association when he volunteered to be a sponsor. And I was over the sponsorship committee. And for those of you who are not familiar with NSA, National Speakers Association, or Black NSA, Michelle, can we put those links in the chat? And Willie Blue and Howard and many of you that's a part of our Black NSA $1 Million Mastermind family, um, you know, you can relate to this because you were there. But Ron Story reached out to us and said, I want to sponsor. And we gave, I think our maximum sponsorship on our website was $10,000. He said, is that it? And I'm thinking, who in the world is this person? And that's it. That's all we had. We did not have a larger vision of what was possible for what we could do. But nevertheless, Ron came through at a much higher level to such an extent the National Speakers Association started paying attention to us and also to Ron. And he came, but not only did he come to our annual meeting for the National Speakers Association, but participated with Black NSA and brought people with him from, I don't need to get into the names. I may call some of them wrong, some of the names wrong, but definitely Les Brown, Angela, his family, and the lady from one of my favorite shows. And her name is escaping me, Ron. Help me out, put it in the chat. But after that, I decided to start following Ron. Now, this is the challenge I'm going to make to every single one of you, and we're going to put this in the chat. I started following Ron and attending his 12 o'clock webinar every single day. Right, Ron? Shake your head. And not only did I go every day, 5 days a week myself, and if I had a challenge, I was trying to do double because I wanted to hear what he had to say. But not only did I show up, I had 2 to 3 people from my team to show up every single day. And I can go on and on. Ron's going to tell his own story, but I just want to challenge every single one of you. Please connect with Ron's story, no matter what kind of business you are in or not in. And I will promise you, your business will never be the same. So help me welcome our friend, Ron Story. Can we give him a snap and a clap? Welcome, Ron. Thank you so very much for joining us today. And this stage is yours.
Thank you. So I appreciate the introduction because I think a lot of times we really don't know the effect that we have on people until they say something. And I think we've all dealt with that in some way where we're just going through doing our thing. And we're so caught up in doing our thing, we don't realize the ripple effects or who may be paying attention. So I'm always grateful whenever anyone, whether they're as accomplished or as esteemed as Miss McNeill, or even when I go talk to a school and a kid that I talked to that was in the first grade, he's now in the 12th grade, and he's saying, "Hey, I'm going to study business because I heard of you," right? Or a kid that knows that I've lived in 6 different countries. They say, I told my mom I wanted to get my passport because you lived in 6 other countries." And those things are important to me because I was that kid, right? And growing up in East St. Louis, everybody is we're known for athletes. You know, Darius Miles, Jackie Joyner Kersey, Al Joyner, or musicians, Miles Davis, Tina Turner, Catherine Dunham, a lot of great people. Don Harper was the most recent Olympian that we had, but we usually are known for athletics and entertainment. I'm 5'5". I ain't dunking a basketball. I'm 47, so I ain't running in nobody's Olympics. And I'm not coordinated enough to play drum set. So I was never really good as a musician outside of marching band. And that, that ends in high school unless you go to a HBCU or something. And so I had to make a decision on something that I thought I could compete on a fair level, that my height didn't matter, my skin didn't matter. My only thing that mattered was my creativity and my intellectual prowess. And even if I didn't master those things, I could use other resources to purchase somebody else's. So I could hire people who were smarter than me or more accomplished than me in a certain area to give me their expertise. And in the book Think and Grow Rich, one of the best examples is the example um, of Henry Ford. And there's the story of Henry Ford, and people are making fun of him for not being able to read. And I think it's in that book. It may be in a different. I've read so many books, but there's the story of him going on stage in the courtroom, and they were trying to call him stupid. And he says, on my desk resides a box full of buttons. And at any time you people here want a question answered, I can push a button and someone will show up and answer it for you. So how am I the idiot? And I think so many times as entrepreneurs, we, especially Black entrepreneurs, because we've been told that we couldn't do things for so long that we kind of want to have pride of authorship. I built this. This was mine. I built this from the ground up. I always hear people, they got their house built from the ground up. I've never seen a home that was built with the roof first. Every house is built from the ground up. But we say it like, oh, he paid cash. I've never bought a business with sandwiches. I always pay cash. Whether the cash came from me or from the bank, you buy things with cash. He paid cash for that car. Yeah, he just got the cash from a bank and he has to pay the bank back. But everything is paid for with cash. Every business is built, or every house is built from the ground up. But we have this pride of ownership or pride of authorship where we want to say we did it. And I found that to be the biggest flaw in my thinking. And when someone explained that to me, it totally changed my life. Someone said this, and it was so impactful. And they said that being right is the currency of the poor. And I said, holy crap, explain that a little bit more. And they said, well, poor people the only way they win is proving that you're wrong. They don't care about getting the thing accomplished. They're so focused on trying to prove that they could do it a better, faster way that they never do anything. That's their currency. They want to say it was mine and I figured it out. While everybody else just used what everybody else has already did, they piggybacked and just rode the way into the future. And everything that we have today, whether it's a cell phone or glasses or whatever, there's usually a patent that's borrowed, and then someone uses another, they license a part of that patent to make the camera in your phone work or the microphone work or whatever. But I found that I was making the mistake as an entrepreneur trying to reinvent the microphone, trying to reinvent the camera in the phone to say that I did it instead of just borrowing the expertise that had already been laid out in front of me. And a guy by the name of David Price, who was the CEO of BF Goodrich, you can look him up. He's retired now, but if you're from St. Louis, he's on every board in St. Louis. And at one point, I think him and his son owned, they were the largest franchise owners of Planet Fitness. And nobody ever knew it. We didn't know he was a black dude that did it, him and his son, Jason. And but he always challenged me on something that I didn't realize, but it was because he was older. He was retired. He had already lived. He had went to Harvard and did all these things. And he's like, Ron, you think you got time? He's like, man, in 5 years, you're gonna be 45. You know, this was years ago. You're gonna be 45, almost 50. Business runs in cycles. You may have 5 years to get it off the ground, 10 to 15 years of really good years, and then you got 5 years of somebody trying to buy it. At the time, I was maybe 35, 40, somewhere in between there when we had this conversation. And that put me at 60. And he said, dude, you ain't got too many times to keep swinging this bat and missing. And that totally changed everything because I'm like, oh, yeah, I don't. Because if I spend 5 years constantly doing startups and the startup doesn't work, I got to start back over. And I'm this pride of authorship, me wanting to say that I did it, but the clock is ticking. And every time the clock keeps ticking, ticking, ticking. And I can just go and purchase the work that someone else did. And the analogy that I like to use is in every other endeavor, we have no problem borrowing the work that someone else did. Mathematicians borrow the work of the previous mathematicians. They solve a postulate or a theorem, and then they use that to go to the next things. Physicists, they do it. But entrepreneurs usually don't. We usually want to prove that we can build it from scratch. And but when I started looking at the people who are the richest in the world, they never did that. They never started from scratch. They would empower other people to start from scratch. They would invest in your business and let you waste your life for the next 10 years, but they bet on 100 of them, right? So they're an investment firm. They put money in 200 companies this year. They're letting these 200 CEOs or founders, waste their life for the next 5 years. And they own 80% of the company. The founder is just running it because he didn't have any cash to work on his idea. When 90% of them fail, they take the five and they kick the founder out and they take it to the moon. Look at Steve Jobs and everybody else. There's only like three popular large companies where the founders weren't kicked out. Like Microsoft was the one that they didn't kick him out, but they brought Sheryl Sandberg in to babysit Mark Zuckerberg. They did, because he was marketing the college kids, they didn't want to kick him out of it and have the old lady running. And I just say that because she was older than him compared to the college kids. So she was running in the background, but he was the face, right? And she's just as rich as he is. I'm just, I mean, she owns just as much of Facebook as Mark Zuckerberg does. But so we find that everybody else, Robert Smith, if you don't know who Robert Smith has mastered the the game of switching seats in the car. He finds a car that's driving fast and he says, hey, I want to drive. And the driver says, yeah, I'm tired, I'm getting sleepy. And he says, cool, let me take over. And he gives him a $2 billion exit, and his company takes over the company and he rides it off into the sunset. And they have a playbook of switching these seats. Now, I mentioned these larger companies as a way to show that most of the people that we know that took things to the moon, it wasn't from inception. right? And especially if they're older. I'm 47. I may have another, I don't know, of me wanting to work as hard as I work now, maybe another 13 years, right? Um, and I say that because I have to have that stop. Like I gotta have that stop. And I'll show you this. This is something that's interesting. My friends think I'm crazy. But this is how much I believe in these things. Um, on my phone, I have a negative countdown timer. And it counts down until I turn 80, until I turn 100, all of my goals are negative countdowns, right? Because if you know that until you turn 80, you got 12,000 days, you kind of treat them a little differently. Then you're like, I only got 12,000 of these things left, right? I got 33 more summers, right? Before I'm 80. And when you look at it from that perspective, you realize that you don't really have a lot of time to waste before you need the wealth that you're trying to build. So my first career was as a financial advisor. I was with Northwestern Mutual for 4 years. I eventually had 8 Allstate agencies out in Virginia Beach. I took over 300 offices for farmers. So I basically ran farmers specialty division in Illinois, Iowa, and Missouri for 3 years. And then I left that to join a group where we took an insurance agency public. And after that, I tried to buy 100 insurance agencies. Like we tried to raise $100 billion to try to buy 100 insurance agencies. And I give you all that background because I was trying to do it on my own at first because I didn't have any other resources. Coming up in East St. Louis, you just go. Like everybody tells you no, so you say, I'll just do it myself. So I started off selling insurance. And then I learned that, oh, you ain't got to just sell it. You can actually have some extra offices. So then I explored it with Allstate. But I realized if I really wanted to do what I really wanted to do, I needed to learn to manage more people. So I took a management job with farmers running their 300 offices. And that helped me a lot to understand where the pinnacle is in whatever industry I'm in. And most of us, it's not that we're incapable, it's that we have as one guy said, we have a level 10 skill set and a level 3 opportunity. And let me say it again because I don't think people get it. And sometimes we have a level 10 skill set where we're really good at managing people, we're really good at sales, but we're selling things that are low ticket. We don't have enough capital to hire the skilled labor that we need. So we hire who we can afford and try to train them up, and that ain't the way to do it. But all of these little things that we just don't know because nobody was the example. So one of the things that I really felt bad about was Robert Smith didn't show what he was doing until he was already the richest black dude in America. And to me, that hurt a lot of other black entrepreneurs because we didn't know what private equity was. We didn't know what raising a fund was. We all thought we had to start companies. And I would never start a company ever again. You couldn't pay me to start a company today. The reason being is I don't have the time. And when you understand that it's easier to get the money to buy an existing business and it's less risky and you can achieve all the same success that you would want to achieve with purchasing a business, it changes everything. So I don't know how much time I have. I didn't know if I sent Michelle a message like, am I supposed to talk? This is going to be Q&A? But she didn't respond. So I just said, I'll just do it, right? I'll just go my way. So I want to kind of give you a scenario. And the scenario is imagine there's an apartment building and that apartment building has 350 units. How many of you guys would love to own a 350 unit apartment building, fully packed out? That would be great, right? Incredible, right? What if it had a 3-year waiting list for that 300 unit apartment building? How many of y'all would like that? Incredible, right? So imagine if that apartment building was there, someone else owned it, and across the street was a vacant lot, Martine. And there was the vacant lot was there, and you go to the bank. Are you familiar? Are you do any real estate investing, Martine Canal?
Yes, I have a property that I own. It's a one door.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Look, one is better than zero, right?
Yes.
So you're good, right? So imagine if you went to the bank and you said, "Hey, I know there's an apartment building with 350 units. It has a 3-year waiting list. I want to build one right across the street to take up the slack on that waiting list. We're gonna copy the same apartment building, right? We're gonna build it, it's gonna be the same spec, but we just gonna take the slack up for the 3-year waiting list. They ain't gonna like us, but we're gonna put them over there. Do you think the bank would loan you the money to build that development with no experience, with zero experience?
Maybe because of the waiting list. So they'll know that
Okay. Do you think they will ask you some questions,
absolutely.
right? If they said, "Who's gonna do the roofing?" and you raise your hand, "I'm gonna do the roofing." Right? And they're gonna say, "Who's gonna do the plumbing?" You say, "I'm gonna do the plumbing." They say,
Mm.
"Who's gonna pour the concrete foundation?" You say, "What? I'm gonna do that too."
I don't think they'll give it to me.
Right? So why do we believe that they should give us the money when we say we're gonna do the accounting, we're gonna do the marketing, we're gonna do the sales, we're gonna do the product development? Because the real estate is just a housing business, right? It's just a housing business. So if they don't do it in real estate because it's too risky, because you don't have experience doing the roofing. You don't have experience doing the drywall. You ain't got experience doing the legal, the product development, the accounting, none of that stuff. When we go to, so here's why I talk about this every time, because us as Black folks, we've been turned down more than ever when it comes to business loans. Why? Because banks don't invest in startups. That's venture capital. But we go to the bank for a venture capital loan. Do you see what I mean? We're going there telling them to invest in a person that don't know how to do roofing, but he gonna do the roof. Telling them to invest in the person that don't know how to do drywall, but he gonna do the drywall. And they say, "Cool, put all your houses in your one unit that you got, Martine, along with your personal house, along with your passport, because if you don't pay back this SBA loan, you ain't gonna be able to ever leave the country again until it's paid off." Right? We put all of these things to risk for an idea. Now, I'm a believer that there's nothing new under the sun, but I'm also a believer that every day somebody gets tired of what they got. So if there's nothing new under the sun, there's probably somebody that tried to do what I'm already trying to do, like that apartment building. We just copying, right? We just copying, and we gonna build the same apartment building. So we come to a consensus that they probably would not give a loan to the person that has never done roofing, but they're gonna do the roof. They've never done plumbing, but they're gonna build, they're gonna what they call it, a general contract, their entire building. Ain't never general contracted a daggone thing. But they first project gonna be a $30 million apartment building. Look at Ann like, yeah, okay. Okay. All right, yeah, right. Right? Now, let's take the same scenario. You go to the bank, they reject you. I've been through that. I went to every bank in Illinois to try to borrow money for my first business that I never got off the ground, that someone stole from me, right? They literally took it from me. And I learned a huge lesson from it. But that was confirmation that I didn't have a bad idea. I just didn't have the skill or the resources to execute it. So let's imagine we go down the same street. And one day I see a guy crying and he is it's an older gentleman. He's bawling his eyes out. And I'm like, and I see him and I'm like, "Hey, sir, are you okay?" And he says, "Yeah, this building is one that I bought with my wife 20 years ago. It's named after her. This is her name on the side of the building. We've lived in Europe for the last 10 years and we own several properties, but this one was really special to us. I'm at the age now where I need to start, divesting of different things. And, I came to look at this building for the last time because we're going to have to sell it. Yo, you got a car?" That's what I'm asking. Hey, man, I hope you feel better, but you got a card, right? Hey, hope you feel better. But give me your card. I may know somebody. Because I'm going to go back to that same bank and I'm going to go back in there and I'm going to knock on Joseph's door or David's door, whatever his name is. And I'm going to say, hey, David, you remember that property I told you had the 350 units with the long waiting list of people? Yeah, Ron, we ain't giving you the money to build a one. No, 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 no. I got something better than that. And he gonna give me the here we go. Right. Right. And I'm gonna say, that one, I got I think I can purchase that one. I think I got a pocket deal. It's not on the market yet, but I talked to the owner and he's willing to sell it. What do you think the bank is gonna say now? What's changed? What's changed? Let's talk about it. You can unmute. I don't. I'm not at church, so this Bible study more than a sermon, right? We can talk in here. What's changed? What changed in that scenario, guys? Martine?
Well, the I can say the roof is already there. You don't have to build it. So the, the foundation is there.
Yeah, and it already has customers, right?
Already occupied.
Everybody that's on this call today, whatever business you're in, one of your competitors is willing to quit for the right price. One of your competitors that's doing better than you is willing to quit. We started the company that most people know me for now is called Speaker Hub. But I only own that company for 1 year and 1 month as of today. I bought it on June 1st of last year. Prior to that, I bought another company called Lead Pilot, and we changed the name to PitchDB on November the 11th of 2019. On January of 2020, I found what was the largest company in the speaking industry, they had the largest group, which was Speaker Hub, and I made an offer. My company was only 2 months old, but I knew I could buy that company because it didn't matter how much experience I had. It mattered if they had good books and if they had a long list of customers. For 4 years, I negotiated that deal, and we finally got it done last year. In the meantime, we've bought 6 companies. We have another LOI that just went out on Friday to buy another one of our competitors. There's no way I could outmarket these people. We went from PitchDB having 4,000 customers to instantly at the sign of a piece of paper to us adding 52,000 customers to our our company just by buying a competitor. The deal that we just sent out the LOI for on Friday will add another 12,000 customers to Speaker Hub instantly without me having to run any Facebook ads. I ain't got to put up no drywall. I ain't got to do no roofing. All I had to do was set up the financing. I could talk to the bank because the bank ain't invested in me. The bank is invested in the deal that's already there. And here's the funny thing about it. We don't even use the banks. We just get the owner to sell it to us. We do it through owner financing. So the owner ends up financing most of the deal. I just go to the bank for the down payment. And nowadays you can use Stripe for that. You ain't even got to go to the bank. Stripe will do it, or QuickBooks will do it with because they already see your financials. They'll just do it with no credit check. And it's a loan directly on the business. But yeah, we're risking our 401ks. We're risking our IRAs. We're risking our homes and all this stuff to try to start from scratch. If I got anything to do with it, everybody ever hears me ever talk ever again going forward, I will always tell them it's the most risky, arrogant thing that you can do, because entrepreneurs who start from scratch have 3 things in common. They're usually arrogant, underfunded, and incompetent. How do I know that? Because I was arrogant, believing I could do it better. I was underfunded. Well, I don't need all that. I could do it this way. Until you get into it, you never have enough money, right? And I was incompetent. I had never done it before. I was putting roofs on houses. I ain't never did roofing before, right? But those are the 3 things that make us innovative. But that's just the risky side. The arrogance, believing that you can do it. You need that confidence so you don't walk in under the door like Miss McNeill was talking about. You got to walk in the room with your chest up a little bit, at least your chin up, right? You need sometimes the underfunding allows you to be innovative instead of wasteful. You say, look, I can figure this out. I could ask for a couple of favors. Somebody, I could barter this thing, right? And then the incompetence forces you to hire people who are competent, right? So, that's really the gist of my conversation. I wanted to share the story of how a lot of us who are on this call, we can borrow the time we can purchase the time that was already invested by somebody else, right? The company we're buying now, he spent 6 years on that thing. That's 6 years I ain't got to do. It took him 6 years to get 12,000 customers. I'm gonna get it in 48 hours, right? No money out of my pocket directly because I'm just gonna go to Stripe and tell them to send me a loan off of the current off of their Stripe account, not mine. I'm taking their Stripe account that don't have a loan against it and putting a loan against the money that's already coming in. Martine, you got someone living in your one house? And I'm saying that because that's proud. That is not me knocking on you, okay? I flipped one house and I quit. That's how I'll never do it again. So you're already better than me, right? Do you have someone in your home?
Yes.
Yeah. And is it just I'll make an assumption. I won't ask you this. Let's assume she has some equity in that house, right? Can she use the equity to buy another house? Yeah. That's all that I'm doing. I'm just using the equity in from the renters, and I'm telling the bank, hey, I'm gonna take an equity loan on this and pay him. And we buy it that way, right? And we do it with no debt. We could talk about this another time, but what we do is we give them a work contract with us. So now my balance sheet is clean. I just got a work contract to pay him out over the next 3 years. And it's called owner financing with no debt, no literal debt on the balance sheet. Right. So, any questions about what I talked about? Because I think more is caught than taught. So, I didn't want to do a whole presentation with a bunch of slides. I wanted to tell a story about how I struggled with pride of authorship, wanting to do it all myself. And then someone had a conversation with me about time. And I realized that I can buy time. I can buy other people's time, whether they're through employees or by their experiences or through their businesses that they've already put in. So everybody on here today, no matter what business you're in, one of your competitors is for sale. They are. I'm just telling you, they are for sale. You can just go buy them with no money out of your pocket if you're creative enough. We bought Speaker Hub. I said, hey, I want one condition because he wanted a price that I didn't want to pay. But I said, dude, here's the rule. They pick the price, you pick the terms. Don't ever let them pick both, right? Let me give you a great example of this. Doretha, Dennis, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Right? I'm
Love
doing
your
well.
story. Love your
I'm
story.
doing well. I got a question for you. Are you in the
Sure.
market for $100 million house?
Am I in the market for it?
Yep.
I'm not in the market for it, but I can talk about it.
Okay.
I like to
I
talk
got one
about it.
I got one for sale. You want to buy it? You got to close today though.
Yes, and McNeill is going to help me buy it.
And you gonna help her? You good?
I'm good.
You gonna help her?
I'm good.
All right. So what y'all gonna wire? I'm gonna see y'all to wire. Y'all ready?
Yep.
So
We're
what
ready.
did I name in that situation? How many people here would buy $100 million house today? Like you literally could.
Oh no, not could.
Not a house.
No,
Mm.
100,
A
$100
house?
million house.
Oh, not a house. I thought you meant a building for that we could use for
No, a
like
house to live
oh,
in.
no.
But if you would
Well,
be
Right?
if it works with your
financing,
process, then why not?
if you
Okay.
would be the owning finance by the owner.
Right? Yeah, right. So the price, most of us get caught up on the price of things,
Mm-hmm.
right? The price turns us down. Man, that's too high. Yeah, but what if I told you could pay it $1,000 a month until it's paid off, and I'll pass the loan on to your grandkids or whoever they want to pass it on to. As long as you don't miss a month, you can pay it off over the next 5 generations. Those are the terms, right? So a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times we hear the price and we don't think of, well, let me get it on terms I can afford. Because 3,000 a month, I'll buy $100 million house. Now it's going to take me 100 years to pay it off, but I'm going to be dead by then.
Right.
And if the real estate market keep going up, when I die, my family can sell it, and we'll probably make $2 or $3 million off of it in the next few years, right? If it just keeps going up 3%, you see what I mean? So the terms are more important than the price.
Right.
So a lot of you all will go out and you will look at businesses, and you're gonna have moist pants, as my that's the nice way to say it. You're gonna pee yourself a little bit when you see the prices of your competitors.
Right.
But you don't know how bad they want to get out of that thing. you have no idea how bad they want to get out. They tired of it, right? Or they may have someone sick in their family. Someone, the owner, the man who was running it, he may be on his deathbed and the wife needs to sell, or vice versa. You just never know the situation until you ask. So understand that they can pick the price. You pick the terms. So
Yes.
with Speaker Hub, he picked the price. I don't negotiate salaries with my employees. They pick the price. They tell me what they want to be paid, but I pick the terms. I let them know. You miss 1 week, you fired. We ain't talking about it. You pick this price. Here's my terms for that price. We've never negotiated a salary with any of our employees over the last 20 years because I know what my terms are, right? Because they can't say, well, I ain't getting paid what I want to get paid. Who picked it? Until your renegotiation come up, I don't want to hear nothing about I ain't getting paid enough. But let me bring it back to Speaker Hub. He picked the price. I picked the terms. One of my terms, because you can be as creative as you want. There are no rules in business. There are laws, but there are no rules, right? And I said, well, what I want to do is I want 30 days to be able to pre-sell the product that I'm going to be offering. And he said, cool. He says, what you need? I said, I don't need anything. You keep all the domain names, you keep all of that stuff in your possession. We'll set up a Stripe account. We'll set it up where our attorney will keep it as escrow. When it hits a certain number, he wires you that. He leaves it in there and he transfers the account to me. At that point, I get all the assets. So if I end up not hitting the mark, we just refund all the people. That way, nobody lost anything. Does that make sense? So that's what we did. We pre-sold, and in, I don't know, 35 hours, we had hit the mark that we needed to hit for the down payment. And I owned the business that next day, right? All of the things went, but it's the terms. So it cost me nothing out of my pocket. I bought it on the 3-year note. I think right now we're 80% paid off. It'll be paid off by December because we wanted to accelerate the payments. But I still got another 18 months, well, another 24 months actually, on the note. So whenever you buy a business, you don't have to make payment up front. I told him, I said, dude, we give you the down payment, but give me 6 months. I don't want to make the first payment until January. You know what he said? Nah, I want it in August. Okay, man, whatever. You know what he came back to me in August and said, you still flexible on that January thing? Because I don't have all my stuff set up. Now, he had never sold the company before, so he didn't know all of the stuff he was going to have to do on the backside. I'm like, dude, you're going to run into these things called capital gains. You may want to listen to me on this. You think you can be flexible on that? You still open to that January thing? Cool. So not only did we get the pre-sale, but we didn't have to make the first payment until January of the next year, 6 months down the road. There are no rules. I just want to say that there are laws in business, but there are no rules. Does that make sense? So this is this one that we just did would be number 7 that we've done since 2018. Again, I've never gone to a bank. I've done it all through owner financing, and just been able to find people who are tired. Yeah. Any questions? Let's open it up to questions because I can talk about this forever, and I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes about certain things. But was this helpful to know that stop trying to start from scratch?
But this is Diane in Jacksonville, Florida. Can you clarify what you said a moment ago? You said just find people that are tired. I want to be clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch this. I'm gonna show you. How many people here will sell me their business today for $1 million? Anybody? Yeah, they tired. You see that? She tired. They tired. They tired. Once they got a price, they tired. Just know that. Once they got a price, they tired. Now, you may not agree with their price, but you know what happens? The more tired they get, the lower their price comes down. Their price gets lower and lower when you're tired of it. When you get that new car and you just paid $80,000 for your new Mercedes, whatever you drive, you know, every car costs $80,000 nowadays. I saw an $80,000 Kia. So you crazy? But it was one of the big old trucks, right? Once you pay 80 grand for that car, the chance of you selling it for 15,000 is low. But give you 7 years. When the engine start going out and you need a new transmission, you're like, dude, you give me 12 grand, you can take this thing tomorrow. Because you're tired of it. You're tired of fixing the starter and the alternator and the timing belt and the new tires and all that. You're like, just I'm gonna go get me something else. I'm tired of this thing. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's what I mean. The tighter they get, the lower the price comes down. Right. So I have a term that I use called unrealized Mark Zuckerberg dreams. And I use that term because I'm in the software business. We only buy software companies. And everybody, when we start out, we think we're going to be Mark Zuckerberg. And when that thing don't get to 500 million, it may only get to 500,000. You're like, man, I thought I had something in me bigger than this. And I'm like, yep, come here. Let me talk to you. Yeah, man, I think you got something in you bigger than that too. I don't think you want this no more. I think you should go work on that other thing. You need some startup money to get it. I can help you get the upfront cash to go start the new thing. And we'll pay you every month for the next 3 years to make sure that you're not missing anything. Now he got his exit plan to start the new thing, and he got 2 years worth of salary to make sure he ain't living outside for the next 2 years while he's starting the new thing. But what I got? Now I got the customers. I got the ability to do what I want to do. One example, really quickly. Let's say, how many of y'all like birria tacos? Y'all know the new tacos where they dip it in the sauce. You dip it in the bowl of juice or whatever, and it's like beef tacos with cheese and all. Great goat meat and all of that. They got lamb when you put it in there. If I had a great birria taco recipe, I'm not starting a taco truck. I'm gonna call every Mexican restaurant in St. Louis and ask, is any of them sick and tired of 20 years of making enchiladas? And I'm gonna buy that business that already got ready-made customers. And I'm gonna put my birria tacos on the menu. And if they don't sell, oh well, I didn't lose anything. I still gonna keep selling them chalupas, tacos, enchiladas, nachos, and all the stuff they already wanted. But we risk it all on a new idea. No, I'm gonna bolt my thing onto the old thing that's already working. And if it doesn't work, I'll put it off. Now, if you do your calculations right, SpeakerUp was just a directory. So it had a component that we liked. But we thought if we could get our product in front of more people, and I thought it was cheaper for me to buy a business that would pay for itself than for me to learn Facebook ads. I didn't want to learn Facebook. So that's why I buy businesses, because I don't want to learn all the new marketing trends and make Facebook where they can turn me off. They can rip me off. No, I'm gonna just go buy my competitors. I know they're already interested and I can market the heck out of them. Right. So that's what we did. It was me bolting a new product onto SpeakerHub. And we 5x the revenue in 10 months. Right. We grew the user base by 33% in the first year. We went from 50,000 customers when we had it. I think we're at 65,000 right now. And we'll be at 77,000 by Friday. So don't tell me what can't be done. It's just got to do it. Questions?
Yeah, it's Ann.